It's March 7th, 2021. I went through all the plants in the garden, so this is going to be a longer update. I moved the crocus to the front door for display. You can see a lot of flowers, and here we have a few white flowers appearing. This is another pot, and you can see the older purple flowers have started to fade. Here are the new white flowers. I planted the hydrangea into the ground in the backyard. Also, you can see the buds have started to open. And this one over here is the shooting star variety. The buds have also been sprouting. Beside the hydrangea, I also planted the lily of the valley into the ground. You can see some sprouts over here. I also planted them in a few other locations, like right here. The lily of the valley has been known to be very invasive when you put them in ground, so I do expect them to spread a lot more in the future. Here on the roof, we have all the fruits and vegetables. Let's start over here with the grape. Let's look at the branches, see if there's any buds. Not seeing any buds yet. Over here's the asparagus. I'm not seeing any sprout yet. Here's the crocus. Here's another crocus. And the rhubarb, you can see the growth has started to take off. Bunch of leaves. Let's give you a closer look at the buds. And here's the mulberry. I'll try to find the tiny buds over here. If you look closely, you can see those green yellowish things. Those are the buds. They're probably gonna start sprouting soon. And here's the green onion and the rosemary. And this guy over here is still flowering. Right here you can see some flower buds forming. Right here is a flower that's gonna open soon. Here's the raspberry. The buds are not really growing yet, but right on top of the soil you can see a tiny sprout. Here's the blueberry. The buds have started to open a little bit. If you look closely, you can see sort of the flowers forming. Lastly, this is the ginger. I'm not seeing any sprouts. Over here is more plants on the rooftop. Here's the dahlia. Looks like the sprouts are still struggling. Not sure if they're gonna stay though. They look like they're growing. Over here's the calla lily. Pretty much the same thing. Sprouts are looking very pale. But they look like they're still growing too. Here's the daffodil. Here you can see a few flower buds. They're gonna open pretty soon. Here's the rosemary. Looks very healthy. A lot of flowers all over the plant. And I think it's also sending out a bunch of new leaves. I'll give you some close-up of the flowers. Lavender doesn't look like it's doing too much. Here's the hyacinth. You can see all the flowers. They're gonna bloom very soon. This is the dark blue one, the purplish one. And here's some other colors too, the magenta ones, and these are gonna be the white ones over here. Snowdrop looks the same. The grape hyacinth, If you dig into it, you can see the flowers forming. These are already blooming. And here's a bunch more that's just started to grow. So we're gonna get a lot more flowers. Peony, I repotted into this bigger pot. The sprouts are looking pretty healthy. Here's the tulip. This is the latifolium variety of the grape hyacinth. Sprouts are forming nicely. And this is the glory of the snow. If you look closely, you can actually see some sprouts forming already. Right here, that green tips. And then this is the striped squill. And right here, you can see the flowers poking out from the soil. Very cool. This is the Persian pearl tulip, growing very nicely. Summer snowflake, not seeing any sprouts. Here's a few sprouts, and here's a bunch of sprouts of summer snowflakes. As for the indoor garden, here we have the pineapple. Looks like the leaves are still growing. This is a new leaf with the pointy end. I usually cut the pointy ends when they grow a bit longer. Here's the orchids. The mini oncidium is sending out a bunch of new growth, new leaves. Here's the dendrobium. Here's, you can see a new growth forming. And here's one of the lady slipper orchid, that tiny one that broke off. Doesn't look too different. Here's another one. Looks pretty healthy to me. A bit dry. And here we have the hoya. Looking good. Adapting pretty well to the new pot. Here are some newer leaves. You can see these pinker ones are the newer leaves. Oh, and right here you can see a few new leaves forming actually. Here we have this pitcher plant. Looks pretty good right now. And the string of pearls are looking great too. A lot of new growth. And over here we have the odontocidium, this orchid here. Look at the roots, they're looking very happy. The tip is green, so it's actively growing still. Here's the snake plant that I transplanted into this clay pot. So far it looks pretty fine to me. Here are the succulents. These are placed on the east side window. The frizzle sizzle looks pretty much the same. The bulb itself is turning a bit more green now. Here's the cylindrical snake plant. Looks like it's still secreting those syrupy stuff. Here's a small zebra succulent. Here's the bigger one. And here's the elephant bush. Looks like it's sending out a lot of new leaves. It's recovering from all the leaf drops over the winter. Here's the finger succulent. And this is the jade plant. By the same east-facing window, we have this prayer plant. This older plant looks healthy still. And here you can see a new sprout with this new leaf. Doesn't look like there's any more new sprout forming. Here's the mounted Stockholm fern, looking magnificent as usual. This is in the bathroom, so it gets a lot of moisture. Looks like it's sending out some new antler fronds still. I'll give you a few more views of the plant. The schiltron on the other side is turning brown. By this west-facing window, we have some more orchids. This is the third pot of the lady slip orchid in the video. Looks like it's still doing pretty well after the repot. And this is the second mini dendrobium orchid from the video. And this is the second odontocidium. A lot of new growth from this one actually. Look at the roots. They're looking great. And the leaves are looking very happy too. And this is the second pot of the mini oncidium. Looks like it's also sending out a lot of new leaves. Here's the dragon tree plant. The new leaves are looking healthy with very nice coloration and nice width too. Here's the Easter cactus. Not changing too much, but you can see here's a new leaf forming. And here's the spider plant, sending out a bunch of new leaves. Here's the baby plant. Here's the petal succulent. Looks also pretty healthy still. And over here's a tiny baby plant forming. And here we have the ficus tree. Looks great. You can see all the new leaves forming over the plants actually. By this other west-facing window, we have a few more plants. This is the transplanted wandering Jew. Doesn't look like it's growing too much. And here's the arrowhead plants. It's not growing too much either. Newly planted spider plant, and this is the prayer plant that has not sprouted yet. Here's another pot of arrowhead plants that I planted. Here's the stackhorn fern and pothos. The stackhorn fern is still sort of recovering from the move. Doesn't look too thriving. Here's a succulent gifted from the family. Looks like it's doing pretty well. Here's the bird nest fern. You can see a new leaf forming from the center. And here's the phalaenopsis. Don't look too different at all.